Movement in animals. Inside the chapter. Movement in human beings. Bones and muscles work together. Movement in animals. Enhance your knowledge. The animals shown in the given pictures differ greatly in the way they look, but they all need different types of food and all move differently. Recall the ways by which animals move and write in the space provided. Choose words from the help box. This movement of the entire body of animals from one place to another is called locomotion. Let us study more about the movements of some animals. Movement in human beings. The human body needs support to move. Bones, ligaments and muscles are the structures that form levers in the body to create human movement. The human skeletal system. The system which makes up the bones and cartilage is called the skeletal system. The bones in human body are arranged in a framework which gives shape to our body. This framework is called the skeleton. Bones are the hard parts of the skeleton and cartilages are the soft parts of the skeleton. The skeletal system provides support to our body. The skeletal system. Limbs. Skull. Rib cage. Bones. There are bones in almost every part of our body. The human skeleton is made up of 206 bones. The main bones in the human skeleton include those found in the skull, backbone, rib cage, girdles, shoulder girdle and hip girdle, and the bones of the upper and lower limbs. Skull. The skull is the bony structure that is present in the head. It is made up of 22 bones of the face and the head. The upper part of the skull is made up of 8 bones in the head which are completely fused and are immovable. The face and the jaws together contain 14 bones. The upper jaw is immovable while the lower jaw is movable. The teeth are fixed to the jawbone. The human skull. Functions of the skull. 1. The skull encloses the brain and protects it from injury. 2. The eye sockets of the skull provide support and protection to the eyes. 3. The lower jawbone enables us to eat, talk and sing. Backbone. The backbone, also called spine, is attached to the base of the skull and runs along the back of the body. It is made up of 33 small ring-shaped bones called vertebrae. Cartilage, a type of tissue, is present between 2 vertebrae. It is like a cushion that acts as a shock absorber. The backbone is curved when seen from the side. Functions of the backbone. 1. The backbone acts as a central support to the body. 2. Along with the hip girdle, it helps us in standing upright and provides support during locomotion. 3. It protects the spinal cord. Backbone. Rib cage. The rib cage is present in the chest region of the body. It is made up of 12 pairs of bones called ribs. The ribs are joined to the chest bone in front and to the backbone behind to form a rib cage. The last 2 pairs out of the 12 are not attached to the sternum and are called floating ribs. Functions of the rib cage. 1. It protects the lungs, heart and major blood vessels. 2. It anchors the muscles that help in breathing. Bones of the limbs. There are 2 pairs of limbs in our body. The arms are called the forelimbs and the legs are called the hindlimbs. The forelimbs have 1 long upper arm bone called humerus, 2 lower arm bones called radius and ulna, 8 wrist bones, 5 palm bones and 14 finger bones. The upper arm bones are connected to the collarbones and shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are attached to the backbone. The hindlimbs have 1 long thigh bone, 2 lower leg bones, 7 ankle bones, 5 bones of foot and 14 making up the toes. The thigh bones are connected to the pelvic/hip girdle. The kneecap or patella can be seen between the thigh and the leg bones. The femur, thigh bone, is the longest and strongest bone in our body. The tibia, one of the bones in lower leg, is strong enough to support the body's weight. Rib cage. Sternum. Ribs. Vertebral column. Functions of the limbs. 1. The forelimbs help in performing several functions such as holding, lifting, gripping, etc. 2. The hindlimbs help to bear the weight of the body at rest and during the movement of the body from one place to the other. 3. Several muscles are attached to the bones of the limbs which facilitate these movements. Joints. In the human body, one bone is connected to the other with the help of joints for the free movement of the body. The points at which two or more bones come together are called joints. The joints in humans are broadly classified on the basis of their movement: immovable joints, slightly movable joints and freely movable joints. Fixed or immovable joints. Such joints do not allow any type of movement. These joints are also called fixed joints. They are seen where protection is the main function of the bones. For example, bones of the skull. Slightly movable joints. The bones of such joints have an outer covering of cartilage, allowing it to move slightly. They are seen where flexible support is important. For example, joints of the backbone. Freely movable joints. Such joints allow free movement in one or more directions. Their main function is to allow the body to perform a variety of movements. They are of four major types: ball and socket joint, pivot joint, hinge joint and gliding joint. Freely movable joints. Hip joint. 1. Ball and socket joint. In such joints, one end of the bones looks like a ball and it freely fits into a socket of another bone. It allows movement in almost all directions. These joints are present in the shoulders and hip. Acetabulum of hip bone. Head of femur. 2. Pivot joint. In such joints, the rounded structure of one bone fits into the ring formed by the other bone. The range of movement of this type of joint is circular, up and down, and side to side. These joints are present between the bones of the skull and the backbone. Pivot. 3. Hinge joint. In such joints, two bones are molded into each other along one side. The range of movement of this type of joint is only in one plane, up and down or backward and forward. These joints are present in the knee and elbow. Hinge joints. Knee joint. Elbow joint. 4. Gliding joint. In such joints, two flattened bones are involved and one bone slips/glides over the other during movement. These joints are present in the bones of wrists and ankles. Gliding joints. Ankle joint. Ankle bone. Bones and muscles work together. Bones and muscles work together to help the body move. The muscles that help in locomotion are attached to bones while some muscles work alone. The muscles contract and relax and bring about the movement. Muscles are of two types: voluntary muscles which are controlled by our free will and involuntary muscles which are not controlled by our will. Voluntary muscles work in pairs to bring about movement. When one muscle contracts, the other relaxes. One muscle is called the flexor and the other is called the extensor. Flexor muscles or flexors bend a joint and move the bones towards each other. Extensor muscles or extensors straighten the joint and move the bones away from each other. This is what happens when we bend or straighten our arm. Muscles are connected to the bone with the help of band-like tissues called tendons. One end of a muscle is attached to a movable bone and the other end is attached to a fixed bone. When the flexor muscle contracts, it pulls in the movable bone and the extensor muscle relaxes. When the extensor muscle contracts, it pulls back the movable bone and the flexor muscle relaxes. Examples of flexors and extensors are as follows: arms, biceps and flexors. Triceps are Extensors. Legs, thigh and calf muscles are flexors. Hamstring and shin muscles are extensors. Biceps. How bones move. Bones and X-rays. X-rays are rays that can pass through muscles and tissues but not through the bones, and therefore produce images of the bones. X-rays show the shapes of the bones in our bodies. By looking at an X-ray image, a doctor can decide whether a bone has been injured and give appropriate treatment. Bone movement in animals. All animals do not have bones to support their body movements. Animals are grouped into two categories based on the presence or absence of a backbone. Animals which do not have a backbone are called invertebrates. For example, earthworm, cockroach, etc. Animals which have a backbone are called vertebrates. For example, cat, dog, fish, snake, etc. Most vertebrates have an internal skeleton made of bones, cartilage, a tough, elastic substance, or both. Movement in earthworm. Earthworms have neither any internal skeleton nor any limbs. Yet they can move because they have special muscles and hair-like structures called setae below their body, and ring-like structures on their body called segments. Setae are present in almost all the segments of the earthworm's body. These setae are attached to the muscles that are present on the body wall. Earthworms move by crawling. First, the earthworm fixes the rear portion to the ground with the help of its bristles and then extends the front part of its body. This happens because the muscles in those regions relax. Next, the earthworm fixes the front forearm to the ground and releases the rear end. The body muscles of the rear end contract and shorten, and are pulled forward. So, by alternate contraction and relaxation of the muscles, it moves forward slowly. Earthworms also secrete a slimy substance which helps them in easy movement. Movement in earthworm, crawling. Intestine. Gizzard. Crop. Esophagus. Mouth. Pharynx. Movement in snail. Snails are also known for their slow movement. They have a soft body protected by a hard shell. The shell helps to protect the snail from cold and danger. Snails move with the help of a thick foot which is made of strong muscles. The body consists of a head, tentacles and the long muscular foot. Snails glide along the ground using their foot. The muscles of the foot move like a wave. As it moves, it leaves a mucus trail. The mucus makes the movement easy and prevents injury. Movement in snail, gliding. Muscular foot. Mouth with radula inside. Two long and two short tentacles. Eye. Breathing pore. Snail, brown garden, Helix spessa. Spiral shell. Movement in cockroach. Cockroach can walk, swim and fly. A cockroach has no bones, but has an external skeleton. The skeleton present outside the body protects the insect. A cockroach has 6 joint legs and 2 pairs of wings. Muscles that are attached to the legs and the wing help cockroaches to move. They can walk and climb with the help of their legs and leg muscles. They fly short distances with the help of their wings and wing muscles. Movement in cockroach, walking. Wings. Legs. Movement in fish. Fish are vertebrates that live in water and naturally move in it. The body of a fish is broad in the middle and narrow at the 2 ends, just like a boat. The shape is called a streamlined shape. This helps fish to cut through the water easily. The fish has an internal skeleton which is attached to strong muscles. The fins too have skeletal and muscular support. The fish swims by curving its body and tail muscles. These curves cause the body to twist and turn, pushing the fish forward. The fish changes its direction, balances and swims forward with the help of its fins. These fins are called pectoral and pelvic fins. Movement in fish, swimming. Wings. Streamlined body. Movement in birds. Birds fly in the air and walk on the ground. Some birds can only walk. Birds such as ducks and swans can swim, while there are some birds such as ostrich and kiwi that cannot fly but are good runners. The birds that can fly have hollow, lightweight bones, wings, feathers and specialized muscles attached to the wings help them in flying. The body shape of flying birds is streamlined, which helps them to move against the direction of wind. Birds show two types of light flapping and gliding movements. In flapping flight, the wings are actively flapped up and down to propel it forward or remain balanced. Gliding and soaring are seen in large birds such as eagles and kites. During gliding, the wings are flapped occasionally. Movement in birds, flight. Tail feathers. Wings. Movement in snakes. Snakes don't have legs, so they use their muscles and their scales to do the walking. If you put a snake on a smooth surface like glass, the snake will not be able to move because there is nothing to grab onto. The scales on their bellies also act as anchors. Snakes have 4 ways of movement. Concertina method. In this method, the snake bunched itself up and then throws itself forward. Serpentine method. In this method, the snake moves in a wavy motion. Sidewinding. In this method, the snake lifts the middle of its body up and then pushes it down, forcing its head to move forward. Rectilinear method. This is a slow, creeping, straight movement. The snake uses some of the wide scales on its belly to grip the ground while pushing forward with the others. Movement in snake. Flexible